We can collaborate. We have to remember, though, that when we're collaborating, the question is, what can we do for them, not just what can they do for us? So we do need to remember that. So once we've defined that ideal client niche, we're writing those blogs, we're creating that content, or we're getting Angeline to create the content for us. We've maybe started a podcast, or we're talking on people's podcasts. So we've got Ella for that to sort it out. We're creating or updating our website. I've got Jose for that. Let me know. So once we've identified that target audience, we've determined that niche, and we start tailoring your marketing efforts, it becomes easier to produce that content. It also becomes easier on you in business because you're only learning one aspect. You're not having all of these hundreds of people with all these different problems coming to see you. So you're always on the research train. Mentoring with Geraldine is a bite-sized practitioner podcast for naturopaths, nutritionists, herbalists, coaches, and practitioners. This podcast responds directly to the needs of you, the practicing natural therapist. We have interviews during the holiday season and business and mindset support each week, so you'll get the variety you need to enjoy and stay motivated in your practice. Don't forget to subscribe to receive the weekly episodes. And if you want to connect with me, always check the show notes, because that's where you'll find the links to book appointments and, of course, to join the Academy, the membership group, where there's constant connection and community with like-minded practitioners. Now, let's get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Mentoring with Geraldine and the Bite Size Podcast. How the devil are you? So last week, I was talking about charging and what we're worth, and I did touch on this online presence because, you're paying for Zoom if you're working online and all of those things. And it occurred to me that I probably just need to revisit attracting clients, don't I? And using this online presence, because we want to build that strong online presence as well, even if people are coming in to see you in your clinic space, which is what people are wanting at the moment. But after that first appointment, we can generally move them onto Zoom or onto the telephone. You just check with them at that first appointment. Do you use Signal? Do you use WhatsApp? Do you use FaceTime? So those are, the three end-to-end encrypted so that we can have that facial conversation, or you can just talk to them on the phone. You can just talk to them on the telephone. So, that first, maybe second appointment, they're coming to see you. If they live a long way from you, you could alternate with come to see me, and they're like, oh no, I like to come into town. And you think, well, I actually want to use this space for somebody else because I only have this office space 2 days a week. And I want to reserve it for new clients so I can see you on a Wednesday from home, from my home office online. So you explain that to them. But the way you explain that is, well, what I do with my clients is the first 2 appointments, we meet here in the rooms. The third appointment is a telephone call. Okay. And then the fourth appointment, if we need to, we can see each other again. And then we alternate between in-house appointments and telephone appointments, which means that you will still have some of those return appointments coming back and those people that don't want to not see you. And if you need to see them because the coaching relationship requires it, it means that you give yourself more flexibility because you've explained at the beginning how you're going to do this. All right. So we need that online presence, and that online presence needs to be across multiple platforms. So pick a platform you like, right? If you prefer Instagram. So currently I'm preferring Instagram. So I'm doing more on Instagram. I'm hanging out there more. It's more picture focused. I quite like it. I'm not really doing any reels. You should do reels. You should really do reels, do some reels. I don't really do reels. I do quite like TikTok though, but that's totally unrelated to my business. That's just me having a yarn. So we've got to think about what is our favorite platform, and we've got to create a website. I can help you with these things, by the way. We've got to optimize the website as well for SEO. We've got to make sure that that website is working for us, and we've got to maintain that online reputation and that online presence. So we've got to look at it and go, well, what is it that we want to show? How do we want to show up? How do we want to be seen? Now, in real life, I swear a lot. I swear lots. But I won't swear on this. Hopefully, I've never sworn on a podcast. Hopefully, I've never sworn anywhere when I'm online. What is my presence? Who are you seeing? So everyone will see me in these shirts all of the time because I have like 8 of them because they don't require ironing. I don't like ironing. I just keep going and buying them from Kathmandu. I was like, oh, that one looks a bit tatty. I'll go and get another one. It's recycled cotton, good for the environment, all the rest of it. So we've got to think to ourselves, I've got to be seen. I want to be seen. I am seen. I've got purple hair. I had pink hair for a long time. Now it's purple. And I know I'm seen more. I didn't. So going through security at airports, the basic security, I would always be pulled over to be drugs tested, right? Always. Small children with me, I'm pulled over to be drugs tested. And I was always thinking to myself, I think that is because I look like an easy mark. I'm smiling at everyone. Everyone's happy. So I get pulled over. Then we started wearing masks. I got a plane. I wore a mask at the airport. I didn't get pulled over. Then I started coloring my hair. It's so rare now that I get pulled over. So rare because I stand out. People think she's not going to stand out like that and be a drugs mule, is she? So we've got to stand out in our own way and in our own space. And how are you going to do that? And where are you going to do that? Sites are you going to choose? Which social media sites? And you've got to have that website, both of which I can help you with. I've got Angeline, who's amazing. She posts for me. She does all my postings. She checks with me, obviously. We go through everything together. Well, not all of it. She does the majority of it. But she's the one who's doing it for me because I know that if it was left up to me, it would be totally erratic. Totally erratic. So we've got to manage that online reputation. We don't want people to think that you're erratic. We just want you to be consistent. You don't have to post every day. It's just consistent posting that is in line with what you do and how you feel. And you need to be consistent on there. You get that first client, the first physical client, and you have to offer them something to tell other people to come to see you. As you know, if you've been listening for a while, you know that I give free appointments. So, because by the time somebody is willing to refer you on, they're really happy with your services. You've gone through all the tough stuff you understand them really well. Their appointments aren't too onerous for you. So they're referring you to everybody. And so you can offer them a free appointment. We have to establish ourselves as an expert, though, to get those people to come to see us. Because if we're not establishing ourselves as an expert in our field, as someone who, knows what they're talking about in that space, we're not going to get those aligned clients. Okay. So we do have to create some content around that niche. And they're like, oh, I'm a generalist. And out in the countryside, they really are generalists out in the countryside because there's only one nutritionist or only one naturopath out in the countryside and people want to see them. They want to go into town and they want to see that person. So they're seeing a generalist. But in the cities, we can have niches. We can be specialized in our area. So we want to be writing. So if you were to write one blog post a month, you could then use that blog post for the entire month. You would create social media posts out of it. You would talk to it when you did a live. You would publish the blog in different places, on your website, parts of it in your social media. You'd share it in an email with whomever has signed up to your website. You would be promoting it. And that's a great way because you can write seasonal blogs around your topic. And the thing is that you think, oh, I can't do anything seasonal. My niche is going to be eczema. Well, eczema is always worse in different seasons. So you can write seasonal blogs if you're thinking, what do I write about? We can write about skin brushing and we can write about things we'd be telling our clients anyway. And when you write about it, maybe you could create a course that goes with it that you can sell to people online that maybe nobody will buy it. I've got a course that nobody has ever purchased. So don't worry, I've got a client course that nobody ever purchased, but I only promoted it once. So if you only promote something once, how many people are you going to get doing it? Whereas my weight loss course, I had full Thursdays when I was doing it pre-COVID. Thursday was always full, absolutely chockers. And I did a late night Thursday to cover all the people who were doing my program. So we've got to find that niche. But you will get other people outside of that niche as well because you'll see the person for the niche. Niche is skin, maybe. And I'm thinking about skin because I still haven't got a dermatology appointment myself. So you're seeing people for skin, you've written a blog, so grandma's come along, she's got itchy skin, you deal with her itch, and then she says, oh, my grandson really needs to see a practitioner where you see him. And you go, oh, how old's the grandson? I don't. And you're like, yep, 10 years old is fine. I don't see babies. Or, yep, babies are fine. I don't see teenagers or whatever. So you will get other people outside of that niche if you want them. You choose. You choose. You say, oh, no, I don't see children. I can refer you to this person though. So you have the referrals. We've got to share that expertise, but we have to share it in a way that doesn't give the answer. All right. I've seen that. It's not as common now, but used to be lots of posts like you've got bad skin, so you need to be taking this and you need to have vitamin A on board and you need to have that on board and here are these great products. So the TGA stopped us sharing products because we're not influencers, we're practitioners. So we can't put pictures of products up on our feeds anymore because the TGA have said you're not an influencer and influencers aren't allowed to do it either. So there are some rules in Australia around what influencers are allowed to do and not allowed to do, which is great because in actual fact, you don't want people to purchase product willy-nilly. You want them to come and see you so that you can create the perfect prescription for them. So the TGA have actually done us a favor by making us more conscious of what we produce for social media. Now, speaking engagements, really consider speaking engagements. Look around, see what there is. I've been invited to speak on a number of occasions. I've spoken in libraries, I've spoken in all sorts of places. So people might ask you, but you can also ask in those places that libraries, and we have the WEA here in Adelaide, Workers Education Association. There's bound to be things like that where you are. So think about, or you can create it yourself with your current client base. But we need to connect with those potential clients. I've done them in cafes. I had a cafe that I regularly went to, an organic cafe. Knew the owner really well. She doesn't own it anymore. Knew the owner really well. And I said to her, what's your slowest day? She said, Tuesday morning. I said, great. How about we put up a sign and we offer a talk on nutrition and we'll make kombucha. I can leave the SCOBY here and we'll have a second talk 2 weeks later and they get the SCOBY, or a week later and they get the SCOBY. And she was like, yeah, great. She promoted it. People came, they got morning tea. So they got a cup of tea or coffee, whatever they wanted, and they got a bliss ball and a piece of raw cake. So she was covered the coffee that I think they paid $25 each. They got a beautiful morning tea and they got learning. So, there's all sorts of places we can do this sort of thing. Now, we need to remember that we can network with other practitioners. So it might be that as a naturopath, you're not really that interested in nutrition. I can't believe that really, but maybe it's not your thing. And so you have a nutritionist that you work with so that they can do the nutrition component of your clients, of what you're doing with your clients, of the education side of the clients. We need to build that referral network. We need people to understand and we need to ask our clients so that we can refer. So if your client goes to a GP and the GP turns and says, oh, naturopath, you can't see them, they're rubbish, they're useless, then they need a new GP. They need one who's open to change and learning. But it might be that they go to the GP and the GP says, fantastic, well, you won't need to see me for a while then, off you go. And that's the sort of person that you need on your books. I've got one client whose GP said, you shouldn't see a naturopath, she's rubbish. That client has converted that GP. So let's not lose hope. So that GP now refers to me. Okay. So think about who are these referral networks. I've done talks at my local physiotherapists. We can collaborate. We have to remember though, that when we're collaborating, the question is, what can we do for them? Not just what can they do for us. So we do need to remember that. So once we've defined that ideal client niche, we're writing those blogs, we're creating that content, or we're getting Angeline to create the content for us. We've maybe started a podcast or we're talking on people's podcasts. So we've got Ella for that to sort it out. We're creating or updating our website. I've got Jose for that. Let me know. So once we've identified that target audience, we've determined that niche and we start tailoring your marketing efforts, it becomes easier to produce that content. It also becomes easier on you in business because you're only learning one aspect. You're not having all of these hundreds of people with all these different problems coming to see you. So you're always on the research train. Okay. Because if you've niched down, then you're studying one thing, one aspect. You're looking at everything else as well and how it affects it. but really you're looking at the latest research on that problem. Okay. And we have to embrace technology. Embracing technology is super duper important so that we can connect with our clients, so that we can. And if you hate something, if you don't like being on social media, that's when you employ Angeline. If you like to talk like I do, but you don't actually like the sound of your own voice, that can be a problem for editing your own podcast. So, that's why I've got Ella. So she does a lot of, if you go into my website, www.geraldineheadley.com, then when you're in there, you'll see there's the podcast downloads, and all of those are seasons or, a month, 2 months, whatever it is. And there's workbooks to go with them. And Ella creates those for me. So you need support. Who are your support networks to make sure that you can get this content out, that you can embrace technology, that you can use it, that you've got the booking system that you need so that everything flows through from the first moment they book in, they pay, they book, they pay, they fill out your intake form, you're uploading their notes to there. You can connect with the distributor like you can with Simple Clinic. You can create a program in there. You've got all of the content in there. And that blog then, because you're building your practice and you're building the people and you've got the website and you've got the link in your Insta and your Facebook so that people can sign up, you can start producing that newsletter as well. So remember, we've got to develop where we are, but we have to be consistent. Okay. Consistency is key. When we flick-flack around, it actually gets really difficult for people to understand what you do and who you are. So, we need to be consistent in our deliverables. And some of that consistency is in look and feel, as much as that consistency is around content and niching. So if you go to my Instagram, the colors are really similar. If you sat there and went back 5 years, you'll see the colors are very different because that was what was in then. And now different looks and different colors are in, that cleaner, whiter look is in. And so that's more, if you go back on all my old podcasts, I don't know if they still have the old fronts to them, but they're a lot darker, dark green, whereas now we've got this lighter look going on. So things change, but it's still that same consistency. It's still my face. You still see me. And so it's consistency across look, feel, I don't know, touch and taste. Do people lick their Instagram? I hope not. But it's consistency across look and feel of the content, as well as the sound, what you're saying in your blogs and how you niche yourself so that people can see that consistency. Touch points, they have to have hundreds of I don't know. For a while, there was like 5 touch points, then it went to 12 touch points. Then, I don't know, it's probably 20 or 30 touch points. And that means 20 or 30 times for the person to see you before they will start to interact with you. They'll start reading your content. They'll start thinking about you and who you are and what you're able to deliver for them. Okay, because it is about results for them. So it might be that you're talking to symptoms. It might be that you're showing a picture of a leg with eczema and then a leg without eczema, for example, or whatever it is. But it's the consistency across. How are we going to do that? What are we delivering for these people so that they're seeing I am the same person on my Instagram page that I am on my website, that I am in my blog. So that if they go across all these different areas, they're seeing you. They're not surprised by greens and whites in Instagram, and then they go to your website and it's all pinks and purples or something. All of these things need to be consistent across all of your platforms, just as you're consistent across all of your platforms as well. Okay. Let me know if you need help, hey? Anyway, you know the deal. If you want to, leave me a 5-star review, please. You've made it all the way through to the end. It's been lovely chatting. I hope you have a brilliant rest of day, and I look forward to catching up with you soon. See ya. Thanks so much for joining me today. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast for the weekly episodes. If you'd like even more support and learning, then the Academy is for you. Here you'll find part 2 of the herbal discussions, more clinical learning, and case studies to support your clients in practice. Bye for now.